Okay, I'm going to do a quick video here of just showing my homemade wood storage shelves here I've got in my garage. Basically just showing an overview here of what's going on. Obviously I've already built them, so I'm not doing a how-to in this video. I will be putting some more shelves on the other side of my garage later on in the year. So I will try to do maybe a time-lapse video or something like that so that you can actually see the process there. But just giving you a quick overview here of the shelving unit in whole. What I have done, I'm just going to briefly explain how I built them. That way you can kind of see what I did. If you want to add something to it, if you want to take something away. The good thing about doing the homemade, building your own wood shelves in your garage is as long as you do it safely and make sure that it's not going to fall over or fall down, as long as you do it to your specifications and everything's done safe, there is no right or wrong way. You can always add stuff to it later. So essentially I'm just going to start kind of pointing out some items here. I've used 2x4x8 pieces of wood here. So essentially you've got this shelf here. This is a 2x4 shelf that goes 8 foot long. Then you come up above it to the next shelf, and that is another 8 foot long piece of wood. Come up to this next shelf, and that's another 8 foot long piece of wood. And then on all four corners, I've got an 8 foot tall piece of wood here. So what you'll see is essentially everything is, I use the full length of the wood. And this top section here, you can tell I've left that open on all four sides. It still extends another 2 feet above the next shelf, but I left it open. And the reason being is because I got some empty suitcases, some pool toys, just some miscellaneous tall stuff. But in the future, if I want to come up and put another one of these shelves right here up on top, I'll have another shelf there, and then I can store stuff on top of there. So that's my option in the future if I choose to do so. And that's why I say this is such an easy project, something that anyone can do, and just enjoy making your space fit your designs as best as possible. Down here on the bottom portion, you can see that I have left that open. The bottom one, I didn't put a wood shelf out on the bottom of this. Essentially, reason being, I use the ground as my bottom shelf. I've got some plastic totes, some plastic storage containers, just stuff that doesn't matter as much if it gets wet, and then some miscellaneous items down there. So that's what I use for my bottom, just opened up. And then I go in 2 foot increments. So from the floor to here, basically a 2 foot, 2 foot. There we go, 2 foot. And then it's going to be 2 foot up to the top up here. So if I choose to put another shelf. For my actual shelving, I have actually used normal plywood from Lowe's or Home Depot. I've just taken this plywood. It comes in 4x8 sheets, and I just basically cut the plywood straight down the middle, making it now 2 foot by 8 foot sheets. And what I've done is all of these supports here are on the outside of this cross beam right here. Don't have any technical terms. I'm just pointing to you so you can point and see. But the main support beam is on the outside, and the measurement from here to the other end of this piece of plywood here is 2 feet, 2 foot in depth there. So from here you can see a little bit better. So from right here to right here is 2 foot. So I've got my cross beams nailed or screwed to the inside or to the outside of that. So what happens is when I put this out at the right height, you see that the plywood just sits down on top of it and supports the weight. I've also taken and put screws down through the plywood every few feet or something like that, just to be able to give that rigid support. Also, when you take a peek up underneath, you'll see that I've got some cross beams here as well. So they I've got one here. I've got one down here somewhere right around halfway, and then one more down near the end. And what those do is they just provide a little bit of support to the shelving unit. You can see here's one of my support beams. I've got 2 screws going through right there, holding it in place. The middle support beam, a couple screws going in right there, holding it in place. And then here's the far end support beam. I put them out pretty close to the end, and then got 2 screws there holding them in place. So essentially, like I said, I don't have a whole lot of weight on these shelves, so I don't really need too many support beams. But if you're doing a lot of weight on these shelves, you might want to take and put a cross beam in between these two, somewhere like right here, about halfway in between. That way it just gives you a little more support. And then taking and screwing down the plywood actually gives it a very rigid, so it doesn't rack. I actually have the some of these cross beams in the back. I have them screwed into the stud wall so that this piece does not come forward. That's all I need is someone trying to reach the top or something like that with climbing on it and this thing fall forward. So just giving you that little tip, that little piece of advice. That's something you got to be careful on. I use screws rather than nails. That's a personal preference. You can use either. But this is these 2 screw holes here for the support beam underneath. It looks like I've only got 1 screw in here supporting this, but what I did was I just put 1 support on the exterior, and I got 2 screws on the interior. So when you come up here to look at the next one, you'll see the same thing, 2 screws holding it on there. And when you come out and pan around, you'll see I've only got 1 screw on the exterior. That's just something I did. I'm not necessarily worried as much about looks, but that's just how I ended up putting it together. So basically, this item, this shelf, ended up taking me somewhere in the ballpark of an hour to make. Not too bad at all. It probably could have been quicker if I would have had a little bit of help supporting some of these items. But I just wanted to show you all kind of a brief view of how I've done it, so that if you've never built something like this and you're just looking for an easy instruction way to do it, here you go. Take a peek at it, see if you can use some of these methods here. There is no one right or wrong way, as long as it's done safely. You don't want this thing falling down on top of you or someone else that comes over to visit. So once again, thank you for watching. I hope you can get something out of this, and take care. Have a great day.